Sherry from Seafoam Lavender, and it's a beautiful but windy afternoon here in Seafoam. And I know that a lot of you will be able to come and visit us this week because lockdown restrictions are about to lift a little bit, yay! But there are going to be many of you who still can't come and see us because our provincial border is still closed, and also I know that for some of the municipalities they're still asking people to only travel for essential things. So I didn't want you to miss our beautiful springtime gardens. So I'm going to take you on a little tour. So I thought we'd start up here in the lavender field. Our lavender field is really starting to come back to life. Sometimes it doesn't look this nice even until late June or early July, so we're really happy with how vibrant everything's looking. So as the lavender plants begin to come out of their winter dormancy, then the silvery, kind of sagey green look that they have in the wintertime begins to be replaced by this new green growth. So if you look at your own plants in your garden, you'll see new green growth shooting out from sort of between and within the silvery green leaves. So this year we're tilling some new rows. We've been trying to get another few lavender rows up in this corner for some time, but hopefully this will be the year. And I thought I would just show you our soil just so you can see what we're battling here. So this is our soil in the rows we've just tilled. You can see it's really heavy clay. It just sticks together in a clump, which is not the best for lavender. So what I always advise people is to add bark mulch into your soil, so you can either till it in or just put it on the top and stir it in, and just do that every year. And this row, you can see that even though it is still clay, because we've added the bark mulch over a couple of years, it's starting to get a lot crumblier, and this will just improve every year. So if we look from our field out over the rest of the property, you can see that monstrosity is my pumpkin patch. We'll get over there in a minute. We've got a little pond and a little bridge, and you can see our flowering crab apples are just absolutely glorious right now. This little bush is a spirea, and it just brings me a lot of joy at this time of year. It doesn't have the longest living blossoms, so I try to just enjoy it while it's here. So if we go over to the pumpkin patch, this is a very wet, kind of boggy area. So I was struggling in previous years to come up with something to do in this corner. And after Hurricane Dorian, we had a lot of felled trees, and a lot of that we could use for firewood, but some of it was too big. So we put all the huge logs in here and covered them with upside down sod and compost. And I've continued to add some twigs and things to it, and now it's going to be ready for some new compost to go over the top, and then we will plant pumpkins on top of it this year. And the thing that's great about that method is it just helps lift the plants up so that they get out of this kind of soupy, marshy bog. You can see over in here we haven't even been able to mow yet because it's so wet that the mower would just sink right into the ground. So over here, we call this the wedding garden because there was once a wedding here. And we have a lot of perennials in here, and we're trying to get even some more. This was a new acquisition last year. This is called a curly willow, and you can see it's a willow tree that just has these beautiful twisting, kind of tortuous branches. It's got a really wild look to it, and it's just absolutely beautiful in all seasons. In the wintertime, you can just see the kind of wild branches. In the summertime, it's got this beautiful kind of free-flowing, almost like hair kind of look. It's just really beautiful. In this garden I have some swamp milkweed, which is our native host plant for the monarch butterfly. And it's just starting to come back up, so you can see these beautiful little green shoots. And in about a month this will be over 1 meter tall, and it will be filled with leaves for the monarch caterpillars. These are some bachelor's buttons. We have a still bee, and we have bee balm, which is monarda, which is another great plant for pollinators. brown-eyed Susans, and a mint patch. So this is my official butterfly garden, and it's in the shape of a heart. And this was on top of an old tree stump, so we just kind of needed to do something to fill this space. And this year we are taking part in the David Suzuki Foundation's Butterfly Way Ranger project to help build a butterfly way around River John, which is our kind of nearest little village. So we've got lots of plants in here that are great for pollinators. We've got coneflowers, bee balm, foxgloves, brown-eyed Susans, and lots more milkweeds that are just starting to come up. We've got some rudbeckia in there, and some little Johnny jump-ups that just find their way everywhere. And this was a new plant to me last year. I love this plant. This is a common mallow. And then this is another one that I'm just absolutely in love with right now. This is called Pussy Toes. It's a native plant here, and it blooms really early, and you can see that each little bloom looks like a little cat's paw, hence the name. And when it's not in bloom, it's just this really beautiful kind of low silvery green ground cover. And it's a native plant, so it's really beneficial to our area. It's great for the ground bees. It's really drought tolerant, so it's good if you have a super hot area where nothing much else grows. And I often find it kind of popping up in the grass in places where our grass doesn't do so well. So highly recommend some Pussy Toes, and you can usually just find it out in the lawn and random places like that. And then you get these beautiful flowers in the springtime. So over here are our raised beds. These are vinyl raised beds, which we've had for a couple of years. And I don't have anything planted in them yet, except for my perennial herbs. So you can see this giant monstrosity is called lovage. It's a beautiful celery smelling and tasting herb, but it takes over the universe, so I definitely recommend planting in containers. I also recommend only having possibly one for your entire neighborhood. We have some artemisias here, so I have wormwood and mugwort. And then we've also got some perennial chives. Over by the house, this garden is fairly new, so we built this bed a little over a year ago. And this is going to be our shade garden because it's in the shade of the house, and it only gets maybe a couple hours of sun in the early morning and the late afternoon. So it's normally quite cool and shady. So at the back here we have Solomon seal, which is a native woodland plant, and blue cohosh, which is also a native woodland plant. And then the little umbrella thing right there is called a mayapple, and mayapples are also a native plant. And then I've just got some annuals in the front while things are slowly filling in, because the Solomon seal and the mayapples will spread like crazy. So I just put some annuals in kind of to fill some space in the meantime while we're waiting for that. And I don't know what happened here. Something knocked over or ate my tulip, but such is life. Tulips are always kind of sacrificial lambs with our deer population anyway. And then this kind of wild, crazy looking thing is called Jack in the Pulpit. This is another native woodland plant, and I was gifted this plant last year and thought I had killed it, but lo and behold, it is back, so I will take better care of it this season. Across from the house, we have another little shady patch, which is really starting to come together. This has been a labor of love for sure. So this is the garden that you'd see as you're exiting our back driveway. So we have more mayapples like you saw in the other garden. There's some hydrangeas that like a bit of shade. And then we've got some kind of spreading shrubs along the sunny border that are going to help fill in that patch. And again, we've just put some annuals in to help make it look bright and cheery while we're waiting for things to fill in. Over on the sunnier side of the house, we're getting some annuals put in there. We've got geraniums, and then this really pretty thing is called a fan flower, scaevola. It's from Australia, and it blooms all summer. Highly recommend. And we got a forget-me-not over here. Some creeping thyme, some succulents. That's a sempervivum royal ruby. And some dicentro, which is Pacific bleeding heart. Over around towards the deck, we've got lots in bloom over here. So these are Queen of Night tulips rather. They're absolutely beautiful. They were new to us this year. We've got a cushion spurge. We have a sedum, and our poppies are just starting to send up tons of buds. So we're going to have amazing poppies in pretty short time. And this hidden gem is called Basket of Gold, and it is just an absolutely phenomenally beautiful plant. You can just see how the lovely yellow blooms just kind of flow in the wind, and it looks really nice with the Queen of Night tulips, which I was not expecting, but I'm really happy that they ended up planted close to one another. And if you get down and close to this plant, it just has the most amazing, phenomenal scent. It just smells so nice. This is Jacob's Ladder. Jacob's Ladder is another native plant that's awesome for pollinators, and it has these quite beautiful pale, almost periwinkle blooms. And then it also has really interesting foliage, so it looks beautiful in all seasons. More forget-me-nots, and a rogue peony in the back there. And we do have lots of lavender plants planted in the garden around the house. Sometimes they're rescues. And this is our first Sweet William dianthus bloom of the year. And another thing that's new this year is I have been planting sweet peas around this kind of cool ladder. The sweet peas are very wind blown today, so they're not looking their best. But I'm hoping that as they grow that they will go up the ladder. So we'll see how that works. And geraniums about to pop, and more Queen of Night tulips. I really like them. So around here are some of our other rescue lavender plants. So these are ones that just didn't really look the best as seedlings last year, so we didn't want to sell them. So we just put them in here to give them kind of a little nursery to recover, and they're all looking really good this year. And we gave them a little lilac bush to keep them company. And finally, we come to the absolute showstopper in our gardens right now, which is our shrub garden. So you can see the flowering crab with the beautiful pink blooms just flowing in the breeze. And it looks really lovely right next to the white lilac, which you can see over on the right. And today there's not a lot of activity here because of the wind, but on a still day, this entire tree will just vibrate with bees and wasps and other pollinators who are just enjoying these absolutely spectacular pink blooms. And again, these smell absolutely phenomenal. And so this is just a really special time of year to be able to see the blooms on this tree. And our white lilac is just starting to open its flowers. So these lilacs are getting pretty huge. And they seem to be really healthy this year. Last year we had a lot of just kind of slow growth and not very many flowers because of Hurricane Dorian the previous season. But this year you can see they are flowering beautifully. And they also have a really lovely scent. Just very peaceful to kind of walk around and just smell the beautiful spring flowers. Our rhubarb is also taking over the world. We've already harvested this once. We have some asparagus here and a lot of horsetail weeds. But the asparagus we've already harvested. We have some roses in a sea of forget-me-nots. Now this shrub I love. This is called southernwood, and it is another artemisia. It is just a really beautiful shrub because it gets really dense and it has this nice kind of feathery foliage, and you don't have to do anything to it. You just let it go, and we just prune it every so often to keep a nice shape. These are going to be Shasta daisies, so we will have tons of those blooms pretty soon. And then I have lots of rudbeckias that are just popping up everywhere because they self-seed, so I will be scooping all those up and probably selling them for you. And then also, you can see we have a mint problem. We have a little sea of spearmint and some forget-me-nots right here, but it does smell absolutely amazing, and we make a lot of mint tea, which is really nice. So another showstopper in the garden right now is the bleeding heart. This is a white blooming variety, and especially on a little windy day, you know, those little hearts just kind of quiver in the breeze and are absolutely stunning. We got hydrangea coming up, and peonies, and this is another plant that I absolutely love. This is called lungwort. So the blooms are already pretty much faded on this because it blooms quite early, but it makes these beautiful pink and blue flowers. So sometimes I think this plant is called Mary and Joseph, or maybe Mary and William. I'm not sure. Mary and somebody. And then it has this beautiful, again, really nice foliage with a little speckled leaf. So nice plant to have around. So thank you for joining me on our little garden tour. If you have any questions, you can always send us an email at lavendercanada@gmail.com or contact us through the contact form on our website. And we hope that we'll be able to see many of you in person very soon.